Very often when we think of who would Batman's right-hand man be, we think of someone maybe like a Robin or a Batgirl or even Alfred. But not often do we think of Commissioner Gordon being a right-hand man. Commissioner Gordon may be close to that to Batman, but I don't think we necessarily think of him that way, the way we do some of his sidekicks. The last unpopular opinion character we did was Alfred, where I think a lot of us came to the conclusion that he is by far one of the, if not the most important character inside of the Batman mythos. But in my opinion, I think Commissioner Gordon is right there. He's super close, and if he's not super close, he's on the same level as Alfred. Just like Alfred, when Bruce Wayne starts his career as Batman, Commissioner Gordon is more or less by his side at all times. Even when he has Robin or Batgirl, there are times where he doesn't want them joining up on the mission. But Commissioner Gordon, due to his job, of course, is always there. But with that being said, let's jump into some of your comments and see what you had to say. Tactical Panda. Gordon's the best character in the Batman mythos besides Batman himself. Batman is necessary, but it's men like Gordon, the kind of men that stand and fight evil without a mask. That ultimately inspires others to take the risk and stand against evil. When you're in that type of environment, when you have a job simply of a cop, you don't see cops running around with masks over their faces to hide their identities. Gordon understands what he has to do for his living. Batman doesn't wear a mask because he's afraid. Yes, in a sense, he might be fearful of what his villains might do to the people he loves, because if they know he's Bruce, they're gonna go after them. He's not wearing a mask for himself, he's wearing a mask for the people he loves. But also at the same time, the whole idea is that Batman needs to be more to have a greater effect on the people that he fights, his villains and all criminals. That doesn't make what Gordon does any lesser of a fact. Being the police commissioner, Gordon now has this opportunity to fight alongside Batman. Fight these people who threaten Gotham City every single day. And even without a mask, as you say, it inspires maybe younger ones who want to get into this business and who want to protect Gotham just as much as Gordon or maybe even Batman does. And you're not supposed to be afraid of who you truly are while you stand up for what you believe to be right. Gordon has that fearless representation, and that is very important for being in a city like Gotham City. Sloshed Hugs says, Jim Gordon's like the unsung hero of Gotham. Forget Batman stealing the spotlight. Gordon's out here grinding, dealing with corrupt cops, and playing 4D chess with the city's worst. Dude's got his gritty, real-world vibe, like he's not just some suit behind a desk. And let's be real, he's low-key the glue holding Gotham together. Sure, he plays by the rules, but he's not afraid to break a few if it means keeping the city from totally going off the rails. Jim's the OG man, the unsung legend in the sea of capes and cowls. And the sea of the most downright disgusting villainy ever. As you say, he is not just a suit behind a desk. Gordon easily could be that, though. He is the police commissioner. And how often does a police commissioner put themselves in harm's way? That is the difference between Gordon and some of the other cops from the past in Gotham City. This is a man who is dedicated to making this city better. You gotta give it to Gordon, guys. It's one thing to be Batman. He has all this crazy technology that hasn't been created yet, and somehow he has it. He's got gadgets that can do anything from A to Z. He knows over 120 different fighting styles. With how good his cape and his suit is, he can practically fly. He's got a Batmobile that's nearly indestructible. He's got a Batjet. He's got so many things that can help him do what he needs to do every night. It's so much that it's propelled Batman into a state where he's not just locked down to Gotham City anymore. That is why he's part of a Justice League, taking on gods from different worlds. And I'm not saying Gordon isn't trained, because of course he's trained in certain things. He knows how to fight. He obviously has some sort of marksmanship skill. But of course, he's nowhere near as trained as Batman is. And yet he still throws himself through the fire every single day. Matthew Furman. I've always been curious as to whether or not he knows who Batman is or really just doesn't want to know. Also, on their first meeting, Batman just said to him, "Give me a 10 count before you turn around. It's gonna look awesome." The way I've always seen that is it's actually perfectly said in The Dark Knight Rises when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, John Blake, says to Gordon, the city's never going to know the man who saved them, meaning Bruce Wayne. And Gordon says they know it was the Batman. And I think that is Gordon's way of saying, look, Bruce Wayne, me, you, any other Joe walking around the streets who believed they were doing the right thing, it doesn't matter. And I really feel like that's what kind of Dark Knight Rises was trying to tell you, in the sense that anyone could be Batman, but it goes even deeper than that. It's just the fact that everyone can be a hero and they can stand up for what's right. So I think from Gordon's perspective, yeah, of course, learning he's Bruce Wayne is going to be a shock, just like it would be a shock to anyone. But I personally don't believe Gordon cares who he is behind the mask. He judges him by his actions and based off of the beliefs and his view of justice he has portrayed to him over the years of working together. The only time he might be interested in who Batman is if he were to find out that Barbara Gordon has become Batgirl, because now that's intertwining his family. Which actually leads me into this comment by Bruin Sports. I don't think he should be Batgirl's dad, and I'm sure he would find out it's her really quickly and not allow her to continue. Yeah, the fact that Barbara's been able to hide her identity from Gordon is pretty interesting. It's kind of strange considering the guy is a detective himself. He's not the police commissioner for no reason at all. He is a smart guy. I feel like he should know his daughter well enough, and he should be able to pick up on signs and clues when she is hiding something from him. I really don't know how long she could hide her own Cape Crusader adventures away from her father. And I have no problem with Gordon being the father of Barbara, but maybe the way you could do it to grow some distance between father and daughter so that he doesn't find out she's truly Batgirl, instead of her maybe starting to become Batgirl in high school, you have her go off to college so that way she's not living in the same home as her father, and that's where she begins her career as Barbara, which will eventually turn into Oracle. Amaze. It's an underrated plot point to have Gordon grow more wary and disturbing of Batman, like in the stories following Nightfall. Wish we could see something along those lines outside the comics. Yes, I actually do believe that is an important plot line to go along with. We actually do see that in Arkham Knight as well, when Gordon finds out that his daughter is actually Oracle, who's been working with Batman all these years. The way I've always seen it is what it takes is a dire situation for Gordon to find out his daughter is Batgirl and the danger she's been in all these years, and it would be the Killing Joke storyline when Joker paralyzes her and does awful things to her. And it's in this moment, as she lies in a hospital bed, in a coma, where Gordon grieves for his daughter, Batman comes along apologizing, and this is where Gordon would say, "You did this to my daughter. This is all your fault. These crazies only exist because of you. You are crazy. Stay away from me. Stay away from my daughter." Now, of course, his anger towards Batman would not last forever, but it would last for a solid amount of time for the viewer, the audience reading or watching this story, to actually question how necessary is Batman and what has the appearance of Batman actually done to those closest to him. Because if he can't keep Barbara Gordon safe, how can he ever keep anybody else safe if they choose to join his crusade? Then from Gordon's perspective, eventually he has to come to this point where he realizes what happened to my daughter is absolutely evil and awful, but she made the choice to do this. She chose to become Batgirl, and even after all of this, she now chooses to be Oracle and to still help Batman. If I'm so angry about what happened to my daughter, I'm not going to help that fact fact, by being angry to Batman, I'm only going to help it by stopping those who do that to my daughter or who have done that to other people's loved ones within Gotham City. But regardless, to see Batman and Gordon have a very strained relationship, to then somehow find a way to see both of them come back together and have a really close-knit relationship, even closer than maybe it was before, that would be really interesting. Now we have two comments that are just on completely different spectrums. J.Lizard, who says Gary Oldman was the ultimate portrayal of Gordon. No one has ever managed to top his take on the character. No offense to Jeffrey Wright and J.K. Simmons. Then we have Spider-Bat, who says, I don't like Christopher Nolan's Jim Gordon. He was kind of pathetic within the climax of the trilogy, and he was boring 90% of the parts of his screen time. So when you have so many different interpretations and iterations of Batman, that means you're more than likely going to get a lot of interpretations of characters like Alfred or Joker or other villains, which means you're going to get a ton of interpretations of Commissioner Gordon. There are so many good ones and meh ones to choose from, but I'm actually going to have to go with the side of thinking Gary Oldman's Commissioner Gordon is the best we've ever had. At the very least, when it comes to live action, I don't think anybody has beaten him yet. He didn't see enough of J.K. Simmons, and frankly, we got robbed of him by Warner Brothers. Jeffrey Wright, I think, is okay. I think he's a little too stale. I think he does need more that makes him an interesting character, and hopefully that happens for him in the future. But I think Gary Oldman, for me, pretty much solidified the idea of a live action Commissioner Gordon. I will say, I think Gordon in The Dark Knight Rises is a little iffy. I found Gary Oldman didn't really talk all that well and talk very clear. He slurred a lot of his words in that movie and spoke way too fast. Sometimes you couldn't really understand what he was saying. But overall, I just love what he brought to the character and how he transformed Gordon. We keep talking about how Gotham City is so important to Gordon, and the idea that he would do anything to keep this city safe and to keep fighting for the city in the first place. This guy literally sacrificed a family. He allowed his wife, his son, and his daughter to move away to another city because of how dedicated he was to keeping Gotham afloat. That is pure and true dedication. Chance Prine, Gotham was fun and I'll die on that hill. Part of the reason I like Gordon so much is because of Ben McKenzie's performance as a young Jim. So I personally do not like the show at all, but what I can agree with is Ben McKenzie's Gordon. He was a perfect pick to a young Gordon, and even though I do not like the show, he is actually a live action portrayal of Gordon that I think rivals Gary Oldman's Gordon. I think Ben McKenzie's Gordon would have actually been a really solid choice for a connected universe through film, where you could have actually seen him as maybe a man in his mid to late 30s, and then eventually you see him age up to 50, 55, 60. Of course, if he wanted to play the role that long, but you could have actually seen this character age in real time. So here's my unpopular opinion for Gordon. Maybe this has happened somewhere out there in the history of DC Batman comics, but I'm still gonna go with it. And it kind of draws a little bit of inspiration from The Dark Knight. But I think there should be a pretty big storyline that Gordon should die. And basically what happens now is it leaves someone like Harvey Bullock, whereas he might not be officially a commissioner, he does have to take an interim role and lead the charge. And this is where you can actually have Batman and Bullock create a working relationship together. Now, you could take this either two ways. Of course, Gordon's not actually dead, and what you would do, you would have him working alongside Batman. Batman just never tells anybody he's still alive. He even needs to hide it from Barbara. Or you could somehow find a way where Gordon is so sneaky himself, even Batman does not know the truth. But the only problem with that is we know Batman is so crazy intelligent, he can spot you from thousands of miles away. And this might not even be the biggest hot take out there, but basically what would happen is for like the next year, maybe even 2 years, Gordon would spend time undercover, hiding away, disguised as different people, literally trying to find and weed out every single corrupted cop in the GCPD, finally getting to the person who is responsible for all the corruption in the police force, which then it maybe leads you to like a Penguin or something, or a Black Mask, some mob boss villain who has ties within GCPD and basically pays off everyone to ignore what they do or to do scummy things in the first place. I think that would be a really cool story for Gordon, and I think that would also really sharpen a lot of his skills. But there you have it, guys, my unpopular opinion and some of your unpopular opinions for the character of Commissioner Gordon. So as per usual, put in the comments below more unpopular opinions on the character if you didn't have the chance to do it on the community post. And also keep an eye on the community post, as I will be putting up the next character we will be doing. But that is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.